Hi dancers, Jess here. Thank you so much for tuning in once more. Something that I've talked about a lot at The Whole Dancer and will probably continue to talk about is calorie counting and whether it's necessary or not. So this is definitely something, as I said, that I've talked about before and I'm bringing up again. I was inspired by Tanya of Bulletproof Ballerina, who brought up this very popular YouTube video about a ballet dancer counting calories. So this dancer basically talked about how she uses calorie counting to get back to her dancing weight, which for her was really a weight loss of 3 pounds or something small like that. But she's talked about how she wrote down everything she ate in order to track her food. And, she would add it up and she would look at her activity level and her calorie deficit and all of that stuff. It was very interesting to watch. But unfortunately for dancers, I think it's a little too obsessive and very unnecessary. Personally, I think calorie counting is not necessary for anyone. And I'm going to talk about why that is. And I'll talk about some new research that backs up that assertion. But I think it's important to talk about because I think that it's so common to hear the message that if you want to lose weight or if you want to see changes in your body, you just have to eat less and move more. And that's great in theory because it's simple, but I don't think that it's the best way to approach positive, long-lasting change in your body. As you get older, as you go through different life stages, things are going to happen that impact the way that you approach food and the way that you think about food. And I think that coming back to a positive mindset around food is going to be the key factor in helping yourself to find the ways to reach your personal best body at any given time without going crazy or overthinking things or, spending too much time and energy counting calories and macronutrients or, anything like that. I really feel like calorie counting is kind of obsessive. It's not fun. I spent many years of my life obsessively tracking calories. For me, it came from the perspective of wanting to be restrictive with food and wanting to eat less calories because having heard the message that you should eat less and move more if you want to lose weight or whatever, that was something that was always in my mind. And I just thought if I ate less, I would be thinner, I would be better, I would look better as a dancer, I would be more likely to get a job offer and do better in auditions and all of that stuff. So it was very obsessive and negative for me. And while I don't think that it has to be that way for everyone, I'm sure there are people who have calorie counted and, felt okay about it or, maybe felt secure in it. I don't think that it's necessarily the healthiest thing, especially for dancers, because we come from such a perfectionist mindset that I think it's very easy for us to overdo it and worry too much about the numbers and beat ourselves up if we end up eating more calories than we had wanted or hoped to in a day or time. And, when it can lead to things like self-hatred and then potentially binge eating if you're feeling deprived and things like that, I just think it can't be a positive way to approach it for the long term. So not calorie counting is something that I talk about a lot in the Dancer's Best Body program. And, I think that because it's sort of opposite of what we hear, especially in mainstream media, I can't discount the fact that on news shows and in health magazines like Women's Health and Shape and things like that, they still very often are talking about calorie counting and making that calorie deficit. And all of those books, Eat This, Not That, a lot of times what they're looking at is decreasing calories. Don't eat this because it has 1,000 calories, but eat this instead because it's similar, but it only has 500 calories. If you watch the Today Show or any of those morning news shows, they'll talk about recipe swaps and talk about how certain things are better because they have less calories or just less fat, without looking at the actual food components that make up the recipe and thinking, is this really a healthier option? Is low-fat dairy a better choice? I don't think it is. And there's nutritional research to back that sort of thing up. So one of my clients in the Dancer's Best Body program, I have to share because I was like, yes, victory. She emailed me not too long ago saying, you know, Jess, when I heard you say things about not counting calories and like that's not important, I really didn't believe you. Like, I didn't think that was true until I found this article in the New York Times that came out in February, so just last month, very recently, saying that calorie counting is not the answer. And it was once she read that, as the New York Times does, they backed it up with lots of studies and research and information. It wasn't just like, making this bold statement and not having any information to back it up. But once she read that, she was like, okay, I now believe you that that's not what I have to do in order to reach my personal best dancer's body. So instead of that, what should you be thinking about? So in this study that the New York Times highlights, they talk about how instead of having people restrict calories or restrict carbs or restrict fat or alter their macronutrient intake, however, the different ways that people say to do it in order to lose weight or change your body, they had people focus on healthy food, the quality of their food. And I think I would have to double check, but I think that the name of the article it's diet quantity, or opposite, diet quality, not quantity, that matters. So in quality of food, they said, instead of looking at calories, they said focus on the quality. And within that, they wanted people to be minimal with sugars, refined carbohydrates, and processed food. Instead, they wanted them to be focusing on whole foods, lots of fruits and vegetables, things that we talk about a lot at The Whole Dancer, high quality foods versus just cutting back on food in general and, eating whatever you want and thinking that that's going to take you to a place of superior health or superior performance for dancers as that goes, rather than looking at the caloric density of something, look at the nutrient density and the quality, what it's providing to your body from that standpoint, because that's not just about your weight and your health. It's about the performance that you give as a dancer. If you want to have energy, you shouldn't be drinking Diet Coke just because it has caffeine. If you want to have energy, life-giving foods like fresh fruits and vegetables are what are going to give you the best outcome with that. One of the things that the article cites is the fact that by focusing on the quality of food, their participants in the study found that they actually changed their relationship with food. So when you're coming from a calorie counting standpoint, a lot of times you develop a negative relationship with food because it's all numbers and it's like, oh, I'm not allowed to have this, I can have this. You're not thinking about how it's serving you or what the benefits are going to be of certain food. You're just like, okay, as long as this fits within my caloric allowance for the day, it's fine. And that brings me back to this video with the dancer counting calories. If you go and it's very angering if you watch a video like this and read the comments, because it's just so obvious that people are blindly trusting of government recommendations for food and diet, which I hate to burst the bubble of people who just trust that stuff, but it's so clearly dictated by industry and the food and beverage industry, who wants you to believe that you can just eat anything and you'll be healthy as long as you decrease the number of calories that you're consuming. You can find dietitians out there who will say, who work for companies like Coca-Cola or PepsiCo or whatever, who will say, yeah, you can have those things as long as it's within your caloric allowance for the day. So obviously from a industry standpoint, that makes sense for them because they want to make money. They want you to continue to buy these things that are not necessarily serving your health. And they're going to use that concept that it's just about calories and it's just about eating less and moving more. You can eat whatever you want as long as it's not too many calories for the day. And unfortunately, you can't trust that information because, like I said, it's dictated by money and industry. This is the kind of topic that I could talk about and get like very heated about with people who try to refute that because it's just nonsense. And to think that you're going to be at optimal health and dancing at your best when you're consuming foods that are completely nutrient deficient is crazy. So in this video where the dancer is counting calories, there are all kinds of comments from people, being like, it's fine. She is eating, she's showing that dancers can eat whatever they want because they're so active. And that's good because otherwise people think dancers all have eating disorders. Now, I think it's great if she doesn't have an obsessive mindset around food, even though she counts calories. I think it's great if she feels healthy and balanced and energetic. I think it's really wonderful that people were able to see, and some of these viewers were able to see, oh, well, here's a dancer who is eating how she wants and she's still thin enough to perform or, thin enough to feel good about herself in the industry or what, whatever people were saying. It's nice that it's good that there's like some positive concepts or ideas around that. But when you start your day with something like a corn dog, which in the video, I think that's one of the first things that she eats, that's highly, highly processed. It's like it ticks off all the boxes of the things you want to avoid in order to reach optimal health. Corn dog, there's like refined, processed stuff going on throughout the whole thing. So it's chemical laden. It's not life force giving food. But, it's packaged. So she was able to see the calories and record that for herself. So when you're busy recording calories, eating packaged food is actually much, much easier. But it's not the healthiest option. If you watch that video, I would love you to share with me what your thoughts were on it. I would only recommend that you watch it if you promise me that you're not going to be influenced into trying that tactic for changing your body. Because like I said, I think for most dancers, it's much more obsessive than you all need to be. You are super active. If you stick to focusing on healthy whole foods for most of the time and allow yourself occasional indulgences, because that's what's going to give you that balanced mindset around food, then that's perfect. That's really all you need to do. I think that dancers struggle the most with your bodies. This was my experience as well. When you get into the negative headspace around yourself and you're just criticizing yourself and seeing what's wrong, and you are then being restrictive, which leads to going the opposite way and feeling deprived and binging. So you have to find the balance with eating well and not counting calories, because that's what's going to get you where you want to go. I will say my sister shared with me something that they apparently say in like the Whole30 cookbook or book or whatever it is. I don't know. I haven't read any of that. I know the concept behind the Whole30. I have known enough people who have tried such a thing. And I think it's wonderful for a period of time, as long as you come off of it and move into more healthy whole foods for your lifetime. And don't just think, oh, I'm going to do the Whole30 for a period of time and then I'm just going to go back to eating tons of junk. But they said something about how eating pancakes is an essential element to reaching something like a balanced mindset or emotional balance with food. And my sister was like, that's ridiculous. Isn't that ridiculous that they said that? But honestly, as somebody personally who deprived myself for so long, eating things like pancakes, and I make them at home, and I make pancakes as healthy as I possibly can. But allowing myself to eat things like that was essential for my emotional growth and balance with food. And I think that you have to know that even when you're focusing on healthy whole foods in your diet and your meal plan, and that's the main factor that you're really looking into, that's still allowing yourself to eat pancakes sometimes, and still allowing yourself to eat a piece of cake sometimes, and allowing a cookie or chocolate or whatever things you enjoy that are less healthy at times is essential. And it's only when you start to do that, you're not eating pancakes every single day, but like maybe on Sundays you have pancakes, whatever it is, it's going to help you get where you want to go faster than caloric deprivation. With that video as well, this dancer counting calories, she wanted to lose something like 3 pounds to get to her dancing weight. And I'm pretty sure I watched it once a while ago, and then I watched it once more, not parts of it. I couldn't watch the whole thing again because it kind of frustrates me. But when I'm pretty sure it was like coming back from a break. I have said this at other times at the Whole Dancer, that it's not unlikely that when you're not dancing as frequently, or you're not in full season performance rehearsal mode, that your weight might go up a few pounds, 3 or 5. That's perfectly normal because you're not as active as you are during the season. I kind of think that if she just continued to eat and listened to her body and focused on, or I know that if she just focused on the whole foods and came back to dancing, full-time rehearsals, performances, all of that, that her body would have gotten back to her dancing weight, what she refers to as her dancing weight, without being obsessive about it and writing it all down and like counting every calorie that passed her lips. So keep that in mind also. So the final recap here is it's about the quality of your food, not the quantity. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for tuning in here again. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to The Whole Dancer on YouTube. I'll be releasing at least one video each week. You can also check us out over at thewholedancer.com. Join the email list there and you'll get to hear about all kinds of fun events coming up, and we have some new programs coming out and things like that. Thanks again so much for tuning in. See you next time.